All right. Well, thank you, AvePoint, for joining us. I look forward to kind of discovering this, what you guys do, so that we can give some of my customers and some of the territories we cover in Western Canada a bird's eye view of what some of the things you bring to the table. And so just for starters, could you guys just introduce us to AvePoint and tell us what makes you guys different than everyone else?
Absolutely. Thanks for having us today, Stephen. AvePoint's a little bit of a unique partner with Microsoft because we're with our customers from the beginning, from the start of when they decide to move to M365 through the entire life cycle of their collaboration workspaces in M365. So any barriers of entry that our customers see, AvePoint can typically help break those down and increase their rate of adoption and essentially transform the way that their digital workspaces live and operate within their organization.
And I know we're going to see some of this in a little bit here on just how robust that is, because you guys actually bring your own technology to the table to make the migration, the management, and protection of it easier. It's kind of the idea. So you guys aren't just experts. In other words, you're not just another system integrator.
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. AvePoint has been partnered with Microsoft for the past 20 years, and our research and development team continuously upgrades our products to make sure that we're filling the voids that enterprise customers might be seeing in their M365 usage. So our software paired with our services team really helps bring a holistic solution to our clients to ensure that they really get the most out of their investment with Microsoft.
Awesome. Okay, well, take us a layer deeper. Where do you want to go from here?
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate for us to do a very quick introduction to AvePoint, no more than about 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll turn it over to my colleague Tom to dive a little bit into the interface of the software and see some of the robustness and breadth that the AvePoint software has. So, right out of the gate, who is AvePoint? As mentioned, we've been around since 2001. We are a global organization. We actually just went public in July. And at the core of it, we have 17,000 customers that are currently leveraging our Azure hosted software as a service, and we're supporting over 8 million users globally. We've been awarded Microsoft Partner of the Year 5 times. And what we like to say is we help our clients migrate, manage, and protect their enterprise data. And what we really mean by that, Stephen, is, like I mentioned, from the moment that a customer decides, okay, we're going to get off of other cloud environments, get off of file shares or other legacy on-premise platforms, we're able to help them either through our software or services team identify what that best path is to remove redundant, outdated, trivial content, ensure that they're complying with all of their internal and external regulations, and quickly move that data into M365. Once that migration is completed, we ensure that, hey, we didn't just dump all of their content into M365 and say good luck to their end users. We want to make sure that as they can transform their digital environments, that we are taking an approach of sustainable adoption. What that means is we're going to make sure that their end users don't feel overwhelmed by the amount of choices that they have. The IT team doesn't get overburdened with locking down environments, responding to low-level end user requests, and ensuring that as the organization grows and continues to use M365 and all of its great collaboration capabilities, we're still meeting all of those security and governance related audits that the IT team might receive in the future. The last thing that we do in one of the key topics that we're going to be talking about today is business continuity. Microsoft does a great job at providing disaster level recovery services from things like outages or malicious behavior. But where a lot of organizations, especially in highly regulated industries, see the need of a company like AvePoint coming in is that protection against true data loss events, something like emails or OneDrives or collaboration environments, losing data, no one notices it, and 90 days down the road, whose fault is it for not having a backup of that data? So that's where AvePoint's able to come in with our advanced data protection capabilities, protecting things like Microsoft Teams, Groups, Planner, Project, and making sure that all of that data that end users are submitting and collaborating on in M365 is fully protected.
And one of the things that's different about you guys, like when you're talking about business continuity, it's basically a SaaS backup solution. Not just that you can back up SaaS solutions, but that you guys, the user interface that you guys bring to the table for them to use across the spectrum here, is going to set what you guys are doing here. You're not just another managed service provider. You're setting stuff up, right?
Yeah, I think that's a big differentiator for us, Stephen, is the fact that, you know, our sole job is to eliminate what I like to refer to as a resume generating event for our customers, right? We want to provide everybody we can with the most reporting possible, right? The deepest dive into what is going on within your M365 tenant, or even during that migration, the idea that if I'm moving content, how sure am I that everything was lifted when it was supposed to, and where it went was where it was supposed to be, right? So making sure that people have that visibility from a migration through just rolling out teams, ensuring groups are enabled the correct way, all the way into like records management and even security and compliance regulations that might be taking place internally.
Yeah, you guys are taking a lot of the guesswork out of it, which I know brings a lot of assurance.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephen, you know, when we talk about the idea of a cloud backup solution, right? Like I said, we understand Microsoft does a great job at a lot of short-term disaster recovery type data protection solutions, but a lot of clients still struggle with identifying what is that right sizing that's appropriate for us. And more so, you're sort of talking about the uniqueness of AvePoint. We like to think here at AvePoint that we've provided the lowest total cost of ownership for a backup solution for M365. We're Azure hosted. We're automatically going to be backing up your environment 4 times a day, automatically going to be detecting net new content, net new users. So in reality, we like to, you know, tell our clients that this is almost a set it and forget it type of solution. Once you have it configured and up and running within your environment, you don't have to worry about continued growth of the environment, the status of the backups. All of that stuff will be automated. You'll be notified. And since we're taking care of the engine to run the service as well as the storage of your data, you know, all we ask our clients to do is log in, perform a test backup or a test restore, make sure that everything is working appropriately. If it ever isn't, they're completely supported by a 24/7 phone and email support team. The one other thing I really wanted to quickly call out regarding our technical feature set for M365 data protection is our granularity. We've been backing up SharePoint data since 2001. We understand that a lot of times it's not just about the data being protected. We ran a survey of our clients using cloud backup and found that their most used restore functionality wasn't even to restore data, it was to restore metadata and security settings associated with workspaces within their environment. So aside from just making sure that things are up and running successfully within their environment, the other big time-consuming aspect of running a backup solution is what do we do with our content when end users need to perform a restore? So what AvePoint has done is we created a Teams app called Ava, AvePoint's virtual assistant, that empowers the end users to actually go out and restore data from the AvePoint cloud backup, or maybe it's just data that they deleted, they can't find, it's in a recycle bin somewhere. So they're able to use Ava to find the data that they were looking for, regardless of where it sits, whether it's in our backup, whether it's still natively in M365, just give them a little bit more robust search functionality to find that. This is whether it's in Ava or the solution itself, you know, there could be a product owner, but underneath that, if you want to break it out per business team, you're able to delegate administration to ensure that, you know, the IT team doesn't have to get bogged down with requests. The power users can go in and restore just their team's content.
Yeah, this is probably one of the biggest things that we run into from a state and local, federal government, or government, and even global organizations right now, Stephen, is the idea that they want a security trim who can do certain types of restores for individuals. So if I offer white glove service to C-levels or board members, you're able to do that here, right? I need to protect that type of content, because if I'm just doing an Exchange mailbox restore, and everybody might offer an out-of-place restore for something like this, the idea is who is able to specifically do that restore is key, right? And then wrapping around a security key, right, within that file itself to ensure even additional protection.
Perfect. The other quick area that we're going to focus on in a quick highlight of AvePoint Online Services, our Azure hosted SaaS, is how AvePoint's able to help assist our clients take that full advantage of E5 licensing from a security standpoint, right? One of the challenges that our customers come to us with outside of just data protection of their M365 environment is how do we manage this rapid adoption of M365 that has led to, the number of content creators within our organization expand? They're sharing content internally and externally. How are we actually going to manage that and ensure that the right people have the right access to the right documents? And Tom, feel free to chime in here regarding policies and insights.
Yeah, this is one of those spots where I have found my client base having more often than not a lot of confusion into how do you even manage what's going on currently today. So from an AvePoint perspective, the first thing we want to start with is just figuring out what is there within these tenants themselves, right? And Microsoft, honestly, from your guys' end, have created a number of great APIs and a number of already existing, sensitive information definitions that are out there, things that we can leverage from the Security and Compliance Center that might be available from an E3 to an E5 today. And we can hone in on those things, right? So it's not just a matter of, is there sensitive content in there? Who has access to it? Or even if it's past who has access to it, how many people have access to it? One of the fun things that goes on within Teams, which is why everybody loves Teams, is just how easy it is to use and share content from. Mm-hmm. Things like a shadow user, for example, can oftentimes be difficult to identify. Right? No matter how many different scripts you might want to run, the idea of who might have access to a file that's stored within a team itself that's not actually even a member of the team itself, that can be tricky, right? From our end of things here at AvePoint, even when we turn this on internally, it's fun to see how many teams we have where it's, content being passed out, those security boundaries that already exist. Right. And that's what we start to focus on here, Stephen, right, it's that, and you can see in this box, right, we've got large groups and the everyone group highlighted here, but the sensitive items that are listed, if there were to be anonymous links, if people are leaving that feature enabled currently, we want to look into that. And then something like external users. The idea here is allow your users to work the way that they need and want, without being extremely restrictive, but still providing the most insight you can possibly have as to what they're doing with the data that they have access to.
Right.
That's definitely one of these areas here. So, and in some case where I've got someone like I'm looking for John here, being able to report on everything that he might have access to, or even from an indirect standpoint, whether it be links, right, sharing that way, the anonymous users type of information that might be sitting out there from a link status, or even those shadow users of him being a shadow user specifically into some of these objects.
Well, what are we looking at here?
So what we're looking at here is actually AvePoint Online Services specifically. So as we mentioned in the beginning of this, and Stephen, I think you even called it out, AvePoint has built their software as a service platform within Azure specifically. Right, one of Tom Ward's first slides was the number of data centers that we're sitting in. What this allows us to do is push out these solutions to our client base, seamless as possible, and manage updates as seamless as possible across the board. We started as an on-prem shop, right? I mean, we started in the early 2000s supporting early versions and iterations of SharePoint and even Exchange Backup. Have since shifted into the online space probably 6, 7, 8 years ago. And now what we've started to do is build solutions that are specifically designed to function within M365, right? A lot of what you see on the screen here isn't anything that was built on-prem and ported over, which can be detrimental to performance for a lot of our clients from what we've seen in the past. So what I've got highlighted here are the number of applications that are actually sitting out there for our client base to actually consume. And that might be everything from our backup solutions, our governance application, our records management platform, as well as something for license management, and even the idea of that policies and insights area for insight and preventative, I like to call it preventative maintenance, right? How do I ensure real-time success over the path of my M365 adoption model, right? So that's what we're looking at in here specifically. All of this is something that you build from our end, right? Our services team comes in. We're enabling our client base to have access to this. We create role-based access for the users that are going to have access to this. So it's not necessarily the whole M365 licensed user base that a customer might have, but specific admins, right? Who might need to have access to this type of thing? Or even within here, who should have access to one solution versus another, right? Some of those things. And what I'm looking at here, if I wanted to, right, my cloud backup for M365, something as simple as what Ward showed for the backups, right, is sitting here. I've since corrected the issue that Ward had on his slide for project. But now if I wanted to do a restore for something like Teams specifically, it's pretty simple for me to come in and just start searching for an object that I want to recover from, right, or recover to. And in this case, if I grab my 2019 marketing office, search for this, I get to select the different levels of restore for this, right? So it's not just the team at the root level, all the way down to the document, or even like a plan, right? From a planner perspective. Maybe it's the planner cards themselves even in there, right? I want to bring back those tasks. All of that is possible from within here.
Wow.
If it were to be the entire team.
So just real quick, just because you mentioned, you know, your team coming in there and setting this up and giving access and whatnot, how long does that take to get to where they're, you know, they start working with you all to where they start using, you know, your guys' solutions?
Yes, Tom, I'll take that one. From, you know, an account management standpoint, I have many clients that over the weekend will kick off a free trial through AvePoint Online Services. And on Monday, we get back in the office, I reach out to them, and they've already set up the trial and they're up and running by themselves. Cloud backup is a little bit more straightforward, easier for our clients to get up and running, and it's software as a service. So as long as they're able to connect to their environment, our solution has no problem getting kicked off with very little to no support from the AvePoint Client Services team.
Wow. You don't even have to think about the storage, right? Because AvePoint can be your storage provider here. So on that end, it's even easier for customers to start to enable themselves in AvePoint Cloud Backup, whether it's for M365, Salesforce, Dynamics, or even those crazies that are using Google Workspace. Right? And all that storage is sitting in Azure itself right now.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of how, I mean, for me to come in here and start recovering content within Cloud Backup itself, you notice I've got this, I can go ahead and select document name, the created date, right? Just all those little bells and whistles that might be out there to find files themselves. But that's going to start that process of searching the index, finding specific files that might be out there. And in this case, if I go ahead and hit restore for this file itself, what I'm going to be is then prompted with the options for what do I want to do with this thing, right? Do I want to bring back the entire file, just the security, as Tom mentioned? All those different bits are going to be a part of this, right?
Yeah.
Which can oftentimes be probably the most difficult thing to reassemble, especially in a pinch. All right. If I come back into AvePoint Online Services and come over to that Insights piece, I've got it launched here already, but I can see my external users, my links, and then my sensitive items even in here. If you notice, what I'm looking at is I have a report showing the number of external users with highest risk. So when I start to build these risk scores, what I'm doing is I'm saying, what kind of content is in here, right? PII, PCI, is there something specific within those types of names, right? Is it a social security number? Is it an address, date of birth? If I wanted to, I can take the lump sum of those things and say, look, if it has a social security number and it has an address to it, that's probably higher risk than just an address, right? So I start to formulate that algorithm based on those ifs, ands to create reports just like this. That's what I'm doing from an insights perspective specifically, right? And I'm doing that across Teams, SharePoint Online, OneDrive, and Groups specifically. So anywhere where somebody might be able to share content.
Right.
Yeah, our goal is never to block collaboration. It's just to make sure that we're doing it the right way. And the people that care about where their sensitive data lies, they have an easy way of aggregating that data and reaching out to the appropriate people to make sure that they're following their internal best practices.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. So when you start to identify the area of risk, it's a matter of what types of policies might you be putting in place then. So I want to build something that might be more proactive rather than just me reacting to it from a report like this. That's where AvePoint sets the tone, right? So on our end of things, what we're doing is we're able to start an attestation process of everything that already exists within your tenant specifically, and identify what it is, who has access to it. Maybe it's something along the lines of tell us what you're doing with this workspace specifically. And based on that information, I'm able to put together policies that are specific to either your department, the type of user you are, or the location in which you're working.
And I can imagine having this type of insight might even empower an organization to give a little, maybe not a lot, but a little bit more freedom to their end workers to work the way they want to, because it's not like we don't know what's happening with it.
Yeah, that's it, right? I mean, it kind of becomes Pandora's box a little bit. So as soon as you start to open this thing up, you have to start thinking about what do I need to do next? And that's really where our services team starts to set the stage, because we've done this so many times over so many years. It's not only just a matter of the solutions we built, but also the expertise we have with working with different customers of all sizes and shape across the world.
So obviously a big part of what your guys' technology is doing is empowering IT to quickly manage some of the stuff themselves. And so you had made a comment, Tom Ward, you had made a comment about total cost of ownership, that this is actually one of you said the most affordable, I think, for this particular service with the data protection or the backup piece. And I'm just curious what you guys are including when you say that. Like what does a customer need to think about when they think about to get this technology? If it is cost effective, where does the rubber meet the road with total cost of ownership with a solution like this?
Yeah, great question, Stephen. I think it comes down to a lot of legacy ways of thinking about a backup solution to a modern way of protecting your cloud environment. With a SaaS solution like AvePoint's, you don't have to worry about that on-prem cost, spinning up servers, keeping them updated, maintained, increasing the amount of servers as your environment grows, third-party security checks on those servers. All of that stuff is taken care of when it comes to AvePoint and any other SaaS solution. As your environment grows, as you begin adopting new M365 services, as Microsoft releases new APIs for us to start backing up more of their collaboration environments that Microsoft provides, AvePoint is the tried and proven vendor that's been there with Microsoft since the inception of M365, since the inception of on-prem SharePoint back in 2001. So we're going to be there tomorrow as you guys continue to grow and expand the ways that end users collaborate within your environment.
Awesome. Well, that's all great. I know customers of ours will probably be interested in having more detailed questions around their particular use case and how you all could help. I know we have customers that are involved with complicated migrations and things like that even now. What would you recommend for somebody that wants to take a stab at this or get further acquainted with you all?
Absolutely, Stephen. They could reach out to myself directly. I'd be happy to get them in contact with their account executive counterpart internally at AvePoint, regardless of where they're located. Okay.
Very good. And then you mentioned it once on the call, but it sounds like they can as well. Meanwhile, there's a free trial on the website. Is that what it is?
Yep. If they go to www.avepoint.com, they'll be able to see that for all of our products, whether it's on-premise or our software as a service, it's an extremely easy process for them to get registered and to get those trial licenses sent to them immediately. Okay.
Well, that's great. We'll pass along your contact info and the link to that as well. Any final thoughts before we depart?
I think from my end of things, at least on the solution side of the house, it is imperative that we're always up to date from the Microsoft side. So between myself and the number of Microsoft MVPs or regional directors here at AvePoint specifically that are heavily involved in the Microsoft community, we hear a lot of things, right? I mean, from the number of customers we've worked with to the size and shape of all of them everywhere, we hear a lot of what our customers are looking to do, and 9 times out of 10, there's something that AvePoint has that can help them today.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, thank you guys for your time. We'll pass on any information for customers that would like to learn more. And we thank you guys for being a good partners of ours, and we look forward to working with you on any future projects.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen.
Yeah.